Director of Human Resources for CMH. And this is Renee Meyer, and I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Renee Meyer. I'm the Director of Finance for the Foundation. I've been with CMH about a little over 25 years.
Okay. Well, Renee and I are going to be with you guys for about an hour and a half this morning. We're going to go through some general expectations. Part of these expectations are going to be some videos that we watch on things called AIDIT or call light answering and all of that. So we may have to pause a little bit, like I mentioned, because we are videotaping this. We'll cut out some of this introduction stuff, but we're going to get started and we'll use this slideshow. You want me to start? All right. So one of the things that you have to understand is what our vision is, what our mission is, and then how we feel like we can get there. So our vision is to be that first choice for customer-focused healthcare to every generation. So I've grown up in this town. Went to elementary school, high school, college. My parents live here, my grandparents, my nieces, my brother and my sister-in-law. But really my nieces. So you guys could be taking care of those small children all the way up to my 97-year-old grandparents. So I have really high expectations for you all. And they all think of CMH as their first choice. So I want you guys to take that on and take that challenge of being that first choice. We feel like we can get there if we do this mission. If we care for every generation through exceptional services by leading physicians in a compassionate healthcare team. I'll be the first to tell you, I cannot provide patient care. I get sick when people get sick. I don't do well with fluids, bodily or otherwise. So I am really glad there are people like you that are in our organization. I will be there and support you. If you say you need something, I will go get it, okay? But you're that compassionate healthcare team. We have excellent physicians. Anybody ever read the Top Doc magazine, 417's Top Doc? You know how that gets voted on? It's not a popularity. It's they send out ballots to all of the physicians in the area, and they vote on who's the best orthopedic, who's the best family practice. So it's peer-to-peer ratings of who's the best doctor. Okay? And we always have several of our physicians that are listed in that issue. So vision and mission.
Our core values, we call it CMH Pride. It's our guiding service principles. We'll look into these in great detail later, but I am positive, respectful, innovative, dedicated, and empowered. Together we are CMH Pride. So we will go through each one, and these are things too. At a lot of your department meetings, you'll be called out, and we will have to. They might ask you, explain Pride to me, or even mission and vision. Your supervisor might call you out and say, what does mission mean to you, or what does vision mean to you? So those are things that we do take very seriously, and they are on your name badge with that reference.
So this is Donald J. Babb. He's our Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director. So it depends on whether you work at the hospital or you work at the foundation. And we'll show a short video here in a minute that goes through the differences between the two. But for most of you, it's just going to depend on which Friday you get your paycheck. Okay? All of our policies are co-policies. I can't think of hardly any that don't overlap to some extent. And he can't be here for every orientation. So I said, if you could tell the orientees one thing, what would you say? So he wrote out that he wanted to welcome you, and he's very pleased that you're joining the CMH team. You're now part of a very special family. Our commitment to excellence is second to none. And we look forward to a long relationship of providing exceptional care and services together. So again, welcome. So while you guys are here today, when he gets to the office this morning, there's a stack of papers on his desk that has all of your pictures and a very brief summary of what it is that you're going to do for our organization. So when he's out and about and he walks over to the ambulance barn or he goes out to the south side, he has your face and name, and he is probably one of the best when it comes to remembering people's names. This Friday is our holiday meal, and he will greet almost any employee that comes through and wish them a Merry Christmas type of thing. So if you're here in town Friday, I encourage you to come over to the hospital and have lunch somewhere between 11 and 2. It's free, by the way.
Our administrative welcome, these are the people that will be the orientation for new employees. These are several of our senior leaders. Jeremy introduced himself. He's our people flagpole champion as well, myself. Kaimi Waka, he is our assistant director in the OR, in the main OR. He's also our quality flagpole champion. Chris McBratney is the administrative director of long-term care, and he is in charge of the facilities on the west side. That would be Ash Grove, Community Springs, and Lake Stockton.
So then we have Jeff Miller. Jeff's the chief operating officer at the hospital. Jeff's been with us for 20-some years. Gary Fulbright, our chief financial officer. He's been with us, he was the third employee hired, and has been here since we opened. Deanna Hedger, director of performance improvement. She's the service flagpole champion, which we'll talk about those champions a little bit later. Tim Franska is the other side of our long-term care. So he's the administrator at Parkview, but he's also the administrative director for the east side. So the two facilities here in town, our residential care center and our facility in Buffalo.
Michael Calhoun is the administrative director of the clinics. Lisa Stock is the chief clinical officer, so she is stationed at the hospital. Denny McCollum is our chief information officer, and she's over our IS department, all of our IS services. Valerie Noblet is the director of home care services.
So out of all of those, I think there's, out of all of that leadership group, I think there's like 2 that have less than 10 years of experience with the organization. So a majority of the leadership has been with the organization and wants to continue to see it grow. So we're going to show you a pretty short video that's kind of an overarching, here's what our organization looks like. And if you have questions, we'll be glad to stop and answer those after the video.
Uniting together in 1978, the community approved and organized a public hospital district, including a district's board of directors. Donald J. Babb, an outstanding healthcare leader whose innovation and dedication to improving the health of individuals in Southwest Missouri, was named the chief executive officer. Construction began, and in 1982, Citizens Memorial Hospital was born, the product of vision, hard work, and exceptional community spirit. CMH is a combination of 2 corporate entities: Citizens Memorial Hospital District, a public hospital district established in 1978, and Citizens Memorial Healthcare Foundation, a 501c3 foundation established in 1986. Together, they operate a rural integrated delivery system with 1 chief executive officer, executive director, and 2 boards of directors. CMH serves a rural 8-county area in southwest Missouri with a population of more than 100,000 people. The CMH organization has experienced an unprecedented rate of growth. CMH's annual budget has grown from $3.6 million in 1982 to a current budget of more than $400 million. CMH's facilities, which started at 45,000 square feet, now total 1 million square feet with facilities in 8 counties. Starting with 3 physicians and 90 employees in 1982, CMH has grown to a medical staff of nearly 150 physicians and mid-level providers and nearly 1,800 employees. In fact, CMH is the area's largest employer, contributing more than $65 million in salaries to local economies. The hospital is licensed for 86 beds. It also includes the clinic system. CMH has a medical surgical unit, intensive care unit, telemetry, birthing unit, the heart center, geriatric psychiatry, and a full complement of outpatient services. A new STEMI center was added in February 2014, and CMH is applying for Level 2 state certification. CMH is a Level 3 trauma center and operates ambulance services for Cedar, Hickory, Polk, and St. Clair counties. In addition to hospital services and an array of medical specialties, CMH has 32 primary care and specialty physician clinics. Citizens Memorial Healthcare Foundation was established to assist the hospital with future growth and operates the long-term care facilities and home care services. Those services include 6 long-term care facilities, 1 residential care facility, 5 independent living communities, home health, hospice, including palliative care, Homemaker Plus, health transit services, and home medical equipment. Citizens Memorial Hospital and Citizens Memorial Healthcare Foundation utilize an extensive strategic planning process modeled after the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Standards to achieve growth. In fact, CMH is a 2-time award winner of the Missouri Quality Award. It's the exact standards in the Malcolm Baldrige criteria, the only healthcare organization in Southwest Missouri to be a recipient of the award. The growth of CMH is a direct result of our strategic planning process. According to many business scholars, the key to long-term growth of an organization is to balance the needs of the constituencies with that of the mission of the organization. Based on our research, focus groups, and interaction with our patients and residents, we're growing to meet the needs of our communities. CMH's strategic planning process starts with our mission, caring for every generation through exceptional services by leading physicians and a compassionate healthcare team. Our goal is our vision, to be the first choice for customer-focused healthcare to every generation. We will achieve that through our core values. I am positive, respectful, innovative, dedicated, empowered. Together, we are CMH Pride. CMH has developed a process for incorporating the mission, vision, and values into 4 flagpoles of excellence, including service, quality, finance, and people. CMH is growing, and as we grow, we're centering our leadership system on continual learning, communications, organizational alignment, and accountability. In short, the flagpoles of excellence starts with our employees and is permeating throughout all of our facilities and into the communities we serve. What does this mean for you? Although CMH has grown significantly over the years, adding new services, building new facilities, utilizing advanced technologies, and attracting leading positions, we are still providing personalized health care from the people you know and trust. On behalf of the Citizens Memorial Hospital and Citizens Memorial Healthcare Foundation Board of Directors, please accept our sincere appreciation for your support. We're excited about where CMH is heading and invite you to join us in the journey.
Make a little more sense? So as Renee mentioned earlier, we're going to use that pride to kind of get across what those expectations are of you and of your coworkers. So when you get to your departments and you get out there working, which you should be holding your peers accountable to as well. So the one other thing is, as we look at some of those slides, think of who your customers are. As I told you guys, you won't see me out on very many of the patient care floors. Okay? You guys are a lot of times my customers. Sometimes families, sometimes administration, but most of the time it's the employees of the organization. But you're going to have different customers. So it could be patients, residents, families, community members. It could be your physicians that you deal with, each other, or just about anybody else you come in contact with. Because if you leave Bolivar, or if you ever have this little name tag on and you walk into Walmart or Woods, guess what? They know where you work. And they are watching how you behave. Because if you treat them poorly in the store or the restaurant, they wonder if that's how you treat the customers. So keep that in mind.
So, positive, we're proud of who we are and what we do. Communicate with key words at key times. Interact with others professionally, generously using smiles and kind words. Just like walking down the hall when you've got people walking towards you, look up, make eye contact, smile. Just we would like a friendly atmosphere, how you would like to be treated, rather than looking down at the ground and avoiding any eye contact. So using smiles is a great thing to do. Take pride in your appearance, the appearance of the facilities. We want you to treat it as if it were your home. So, take pride in CMH.
So we periodically run contests. You saw that Renee on our flagpole champions, and every once in a while we'll put out a contest to all of the employees across the organization that says, what does positive look like? Or what does innovative look like? Or something along those lines. So we threw a couple of these videos in here. This is the one that won for positive a couple of years ago. It's not too long. Definitely do that out there. Half of those ladies didn't even know that they were going to get videotaped that day. That's just how those ladies are all the time. One of them that's in that video, I don't Facebook friend very many people, but we've known each other since high school, and she is probably the most positive person on Facebook I have ever met. So if you get to meet Cammie Wine as an employee, you can friend her. I can honestly encourage you to friend her as an employee, and she will show you how to use Facebook to a positive promotion. So we also want you to be respectful. Respect the individual and professionally treat everyone as a friend or a family member, and I will put the caveat on the end that says that you like. Okay? We're in the holiday season, so if you have that weird cousin or something like that that nobody wants to see, don't treat them like that one, okay? Treat them like the ones that you're excited about seeing. And we can do part of that respect in how we communicate. Anybody know how much communication is conveyed through the actual words that are said?
70%?
I have a 70%.
Well, let's go like
20. 10. The last Disney study that I looked at said somewhere between 7 and 10% are the actual words. The 70% comes up in most of how we carry ourselves. And then there's a whole thing about the tone, how we emphasize, voice pitch, and all of that. Most of it's body language, facial expressions, posture. It's always funny when I say this, people sit up. But, you know, I'm really excited to see you guys today. Do you believe me? No. Okay? So communicate respectfully. Hi, it's nice to see you today. If you have a frown on your face when you say that, it's really hard for people to believe that you're happy to see you. Okay? Be sensitive to emotions. How many of you, this is your first time working in healthcare? A couple of you? The rest of you have probably worked in healthcare, and so you've done this type of thing before. I can tell you, if I'm going to be your patient, I've been a patient in a hospital once in my life. They were awesome, by the way, but if you're going to come at me with needles, or you're going to tell me that I have to go in for a test, or I have to take off all my clothes for what? To you, it's every day, but for me, it's a little awkward. Okay, so be sensitive to that, especially when families are going through any of that grief process. We see people pass away in our facilities, our long-term care facilities, because they're at their end of their life. But those families, that's very important to them. If we're not sensitive to that, it can be very detrimental. And respect people's times. There's something else that's happened within our society that says we've lost the ability to say, I'm sorry. If you come in for a test, and or you come into the HR office, and we're running behind, it's okay for Adam and them to say, I'm sorry you're having to wait. It doesn't mean we're guilty of something. It just means that we're not having a good day. Okay? You're not admitting guilt or fault or anything like that by telling somebody, I'm sorry you're having to wait. Let me see what I can do to fix it. And apologize for those delays. You can head off a lot of problems if you update people. If their appointment was for 8:10 and it's 8:20 and you haven't been able to get to them yet, if somebody can go out and say, we're running a little behind, that will usually appease most patients. Now, if at 8:50 you still haven't gotten them, you got a bigger problem than just them being late. Okay? The respect video that was put together is just kind of helps you put into perspective some of the things that our customers go through.
Respectful, a heart of pride. Respect yourself and all you eat. Encourage others with a friendly greet. Show your respect with a listening ear. Please, thank you, and be sincere. Enjoy what you do. It will show. Contagious. Use a smile. Make it glow. Thoughtfulness for those who seem sad. Find the good when things look bad. Understand to those who are stressed. Leave the day knowing you did your best.
That helps you.
Innovating, the I of pride. We encourage new ideas and embrace changes to make us better. Seek opportunities to be effective, efficient, and safe in providing high-quality care. I funds out to the side, so quality care, we applied for the Missouri Quality Award. We have received that award twice. We're probably the only hospital in Southwest Missouri that has received the Quality Award. VPP is an OSHA program, so we invited OSHA into our facilities. We were the first long-term care facility in the U.S. to have OSHA come in and do the VPP certification. So we're very proud of that. We asked them to come survey us and make sure we're doing all we can to keep our employees safe. And they have now done that in all 7 of our long-term care facilities, and they come back every year. So that is very impressive. Stage 7, so that's a quality or an IS award. So our information services, our computer system, the most wired, and so those bottom 3 are all related to our computer system. We have probably one of the best computer systems. It's integrated between the clinics, the long-term care, the hospital, the ER, all that's integrated and they all talk to each other. So it's very impressive. Support our ongoing progress in advanced technology. We ask that you embrace that innovation, because we are making changes a lot. We are going to upgrade our Meditech system, our software, in 2018. Susan's here to help us do that. So that is a huge change. We did this back in 2001, 2002 when we implemented the software. We had to build it from scratch. This is kind of doing the same thing. We're starting over. It's the same software, but it's going to a whole other level. So we have got a lot of work to do over the next year to get that implemented. So that is our innovation. Take ownership of the team approach, and don't say it's not my job. It may not be in your job description. It may not be something you do, but you still try to offer help. Find out who can help them and pass it on. So we don't want to say it's not my job.
You all have just a moment ago told us that you've done healthcare. So you may see something that we do and go, you could save yourself 10 minutes if you do it this way. So we want you to bring those ideas to your managers. And we even encourage the managers on the other side to come see you within about 30 days and ask you some very specific questions. So be ready for that, because they may come in and go, so what have you seen that we can do better? That's not something that most employees are used to hearing at their 30-day mark of employment, but we want to know that. Okay. We also want you to be dedicated, commit ourselves to the common purpose of improving the quality of life for those that we serve. So one of the ways that you can do that is to commit your own personal responsibility. I don't know who woke you up this morning, if it was your cell phone or an alarm clock or a spouse or significant other, but you got here somehow, okay? Do that same commitment to every day on the job. I have a 17-year-old at home, and here's my philosophy. I have taught him since he was little that on time is late, okay? And I loved it when his band instructor told him that if you're not there 5 minutes before the scheduled practice, you're late, because you still have to have time to get ready. So commit to that personal responsibility. There is some personal accountability with being an employee. One of the things we're going to do, you'll find out later today, you're going to find out about health screening. You're going to get assigned courses as part of orientation today that you have to do today before you leave. Then you're also going to have some assignments that are due over the next 30 days that are all part of your orientation. And then every month, we're going to give you new assignments. It's the teacher in me that kicks in, okay? So those assignments are due within 30 days, the monthly ones after orientation. To hold you accountable, we send your manager a list of all the people that have done them by the 15th. So don't be surprised. Long-term care, they are amazing at following up with their staff. They will find them, sit them down on their computer and say, get your health streams done, okay? So do those things. Be engaged. We go all in. If we come to you with an idea for a project, we're picking on Susan today because she's a former employee and we like to pick on her. But her job is to start a new project. And so she may come to your department and go, we need somebody that will step up and help us develop this software specifically for this area. Be that person. I encourage you to do that. Or, hey, there's a team working on making this improvement for patient care. Okay? And be determined to exceed customer expectations in all that we do. I mentioned my kid a minute ago. I have 2 boys that are a little rambunctious. I can tell you, because of how we eat out in Springfield, the best waiters and waitresses in Springfield. Why can I tell you that? How do they make an impression? Yeah. The best waiters and waitresses in Springfield attend to my children when I'm in their restaurant, so my wife and I can have a conversation without the kids going, "Is our food ever going to come?" Blah, blah, blah. They bring activities, they make sure their drinks are filled, all of those things, without me having to flag them down. So they're exceeding my expectations without even asking. That's what I want you to do for your customers, okay? You'll see this on a couple of different computer screens today. This is our Heroes Rewards. So when you have that coworker that goes above and beyond and it exceeds your expectations, this is how you recognize them. You log into Heroes and you send them a Heroes Reward. If they get enough of those, which also includes some patient or customer comments, you can get $25 cash. So I encourage you to get those compliments, go above and beyond, and get those from your coworkers and from patients. This is the empathy video that I was talking about just a minute ago.
Empowered. We take pride in knowing that what we do and how we do it makes a difference. So encourage coworkers to be accountable for CMH Pride. And I mentioned earlier that your managers might call you out on it and explain what pride is. Your coworkers may say that you are not showing pride today, so bring your A game. Just fix it or make it better. Those are a few things that we use. Make it better as a team approach where if there's several different departments involved, you might go to your supervisor and explain that there's something that we need to fix. There's something that's not going on between these two departments. We create a team, we do a make it better to improve our processes. Are we proactive on behalf of our patients, coworkers, and the community we serve? And so the picture here, this is what we call BioNess, is the system. It's the electronic stimulus. It's actually used for physical therapy and occupational therapy on stroke patients. And I got to witness this, and they demonstrated it to us. We had a therapist go to a seminar and saw this device in use and was very impressed, brought it back to us, put a team together. And we actually had them come do a demo over at Colonial Springs. And they had, we had several stroke patients that were probably 2 or 3 years post their stroke. They came in and we put the device on his hand. He was not able to grip a can. And after doing this for about 15 or 20 minutes, they put the electronic stimulus in the hand, and it teaches your brain to refunction, to use your. He was able to grip the cup, lift it up, and take a drink. And then also he was not able to grab his ball cap and take it off. By the end of the treatment that same day, he was able to grab the hat and grip. And the other physical therapy actually had the leg, and the gentleman he drug his leg behind him, and by the end of the treatment, he had a normal gait, just with the electronic stimulus. So it was really impressive to see. We actually purchased the device for the hand and the leg, the arm and the leg, and use it at Colonial Springs. We do move it between facilities now, so it's very impressive. Just to know that the therapist saw it somewhere, brought it back to us, and we were able to purchase that and put that into place. So
And that's that whole be proactive part. You may not be able to go out and spend exactly what it costs on that, but you can kickstart the process. And if you have to make it better, they're available on the intranet. All you gotta do is pull up the form and start filling it out, take it to your supervisor. If they don't know what to do with it, call Renee or call one of the other leaders across the organization and go, I got this great idea and I've already started the process. And they'll go, okay. And go from there. Just fix it like Renee said. No, it's not written in my job description to pick up trash. But if I see it on the floor, I'm gonna pick it up. Right? Because I'm not gonna take that ownership and go, this is what I need to do. Otherwise I could go, oh, housekeeping will be along later. But it just doesn't look right. Any questions on those? Those don't seem too difficult, right? So we also have a thing called the no pass zone. So if you're in a patient care area, the expectation is this: if the call light goes off, you answer. If I'm on med-surg, talking to Carrie Moreland, our director, and we're walking down the hall and a call light goes off, we answer it. I don't go, oh, well, that's so-and-so's nurse or patient. We go in and we see what it is that that patient needs. So the goal is to respond to anything that could be potentially life-threatening. People turn on their call lights if they start to get impatient to try to get out of bed. They're sick, they're fall risks, they're the potential for creating hazard to themselves. So we want to be responsive to that. Within 2 minutes of a call light being turned on, and every team member can respond to those things. So if I step into a room, hi, I'm Jeremy from Human Resources. How can I help you? And they'll go, I need a nurse. Okay, is there something I can do for you right now while I'm in here? I need my nurse. I'm going to leave your light on, but I'm going to go find him. Do you remember your nurse's name? Nope. If not, I look at the board, find the name, and I go find them. Okay? But I've at least made sure that they're still in their bed, they haven't fallen out, they're not trying to get up, those types of things. Make sense? So we had fun with this. We put our COO, Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Miller, in a patient bed, and we videotaped it. And here's the interactions that came about.
Hello, hi, my name is Debbie, and I'm from the quality department. I see your call lights on. What can I do to help you? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, let me go get one, and I'll be back in about 2 minutes, okay? Hey, Mr. Miller, I have 2 blankets. How many do you think you'll need? Okay, well, they just came out of the warmer, so they should be warmed up. Oh, no problem, that's what we're here for. I'm gonna put one across your feet. How's that? Much good. Okay. Make sure you have your tray table. Get your phone. All right, is there anything else I can get for you? Sure. There we go. All right. Everything okay? All right, nothing else that you need? All right, thank you.
All right, so what went well and what didn't go well? Yeah, there were a bunch of people out in the hall.
Walked in the room and then walked away.
Yeah, they were either too busy or they weren't focused on addressing a patient need. What else? Debbie's in quality, right? Those of you that didn't know her, she was not a nurse. She's a speech therapist by training. So she still solved this problem though, right? The big thing was she took the initiative. She went in there. She asked what she could do to help. And then she also did some things before she left the room. What else did she do? Yeah, she looked for things. Was his personal items, the phone, his water, any of that stuff within reach? Because a lot of times things get shuffled around in the room and we head out of the room and we don't think about that. And then you get halfway down the hall and that light comes back on again because then they're awake and they're thirsty and that type of thing. So think ahead on that. This is a little different situation, like me coming into a room and them asking something nursing wise. I'm not capable of answering that. So.
Mr. Miller, myself, as CEO, I saw you on the house or something, I told you that. Yes. Pain, painless. Why can't I help you with that? Let me call the nurse. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Miller is, yes. Thank you. I'll be right down, Mr. Miller, what else can I help you with? Thank you so much for stopping. Sure, appreciate it. You know, sometimes if my dog, you take my dog to paint, that's my dog's, my bag. Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Anything else I can do for you? It's a real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you as well. I appreciate it. You're here this second. Sure.
Hello, Mr. Miller?
Hi.
Hi, I hear you need some pain medicine. I'll be back to check on you in about an hour. Sure you got your call light close by.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. CMH No Fast Zone, where patients come first.
All right, so what did they do well in that situation? What could they do better? It's okay, Mr. Babbitt's not here, you can critique you.
Took care of the family member as well.
Yeah, he at least acknowledged that family member. I mean, I hope that's not any of the family members we have to deal with. Get your call light again, they'll get your phone. But sometimes that's how demanding some of our customers can be. And we have to recognize that they're there. What could he have done too? If Mr. Miller had needed something more than just say a pain med, as a provider, sometimes you may have to excuse people from the room to do the care. I mean, you always want to ask the customer if that's okay for somebody to be present, if you're going to be drawing blood, doing anything more personal with that patient. Anything else? Good or bad? I thought Mr. Babb did a pretty good job. So, one.
To say too, so like on the bag, when they ask you to get something, bring them the bag.
Yeah, don't go
dig into
through
their
it.
bag and get something, actually let them do that.
So Mr. Miller didn't know this was coming. We thought this was kind of fun.
Doctor in here? Oh, no. I think I've got the wrong person.
That's Dr. Barges, one of our general surgeons. He's a pretty funny guy. So remember, 2 minutes is our expectation. So if you see a call light go off, doesn't matter if it's here at the hospital, you're at one of the long-term care facilities, you're walking down a hall, step in there and see what you can do to assist that patient or resident.
8 it. So acknowledge, introduce, duration, explanation, and thank you. We will throw out that term quite a bit. Use your 8 it, use your 8 it. Acknowledge people, introduce yourself, show courtesy and respect by all. Because physicians, nurses, and staff. Focus on the E to explain medications and diagnosis too, because that is what will really eat your attention. People are nervous when you're talking with them, or like Jeremy had mentioned earlier, he's been in a hospital one time. You may deal with these people all day long, but it may be the only encounter they've ever had in the hospital. So they're very nervous. The explanation will help too. To introduce yourself puts them at ease.
So, different studies, we partner with Student Group. The Student Group has used several iterations or generations of ADA. The first one was say your name. And the next one was say your name and where you work. Now it's to the level of most customers want to know what your experiences are. Megan's a nurse practitioner. If I come to you, I've never met you. I know several of our others, but I want to know, have you been doing this for a little while? Or did you just come out of school? You can use your experiences to make people feel more comfortable. If you've drawn blood thousands of times, tell your customer that. Because I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that you've done it thousands of times versus it's the very first time you're trying to stick somebody. Okay? And what they found is if you can decrease a patient's anxiety, you will typically have a better compliance. Okay? They will understand the things that you're giving them instruction on better than if they're all anxious and nervous. Okay? There are people out there, we deal with CTs all the time, right? What's a CT? Computerized scan. We're going to look inside their body. But can I eat? Can I drink? Is there anything that I can or can't do? I mean, we go on the internet, it'll tell us all sorts of stuff, but some of it could be wrong. So decreased anxiety plus increased compliance tends to lead to better clinical outcomes and better experiences for those patients, especially when it comes to their physician satisfaction. So that's our ultimate goal. Okay? So improve that patient and customer perception, reduce that anxiety, build customer loyalty, and ensure that our service providers are delivering consistent measures of empathy and concern. So we may come back to the video and watch this. This is some individuals from Student Group and from Holy Cross Hospital in Chicago that actually were the first generation of AIDED. But I want to be respectful of time, and so if we have time at the end, we'll come back and play this video. But in your packet, Jennifer, can I borrow yours? In your packet, on the left-hand side for you, there is a AIDED worksheet. So this is your homework. So I'll pick on Jennifer since she's going to work in one of the areas that I deal with. My expectation for her is to think of who her customers and ed services are going to be. You guys. So how is she going to acknowledge you? What is her introduction going to look like? If she has different interactions with you, what's the duration going to be like? And the best practice you can do is to get in front of a mirror and practice. How many of you would feel comfortable coming up here and standing in front of all of us and giving your AIDED right now? There may be one or two of you that are a little more outgoing and willing to just do that. The rest of you probably aren't used to it. So the best way to get yourself used to it is to practice. Explanation. Explain things in everyday terms. How many of you know what a CBC is? What's a CBC? Complete blood count. For those of you guys in a hospital and healthcare setting, yeah. But if I ask Adam at the back of the room what a complete blood count is, it's a what?
Criminal background check.
Yeah. So I come from that business world, HRE world, and you're talking to me about my grandfather that you're going to do a CBC on. I'm going, why are you checking to see if he's a felon? He's got a heart issue. Okay? So we gotta stop and think sometimes and explain it in the terms that they understand. And then the very important one at the very end is the thank you. Now Renee and I haven't said thank you to you yet, but we will before we leave. Because we appreciate your time and attention to us. So you can acknowledge people by Mr. or Mrs. We're close enough to the south that it's still proper to say Mr. or Mrs. and their first name. if that's all you know. But I would prefer that you address them as their Mr. or Ms. last name until they give you permission to use their first name. Okay? Smile, eye contact. How do you know if you've made eye contact versus facial contact? If you leave this room today and you go out in the hall and you meet somebody that is not in this orientation class, and I am the next person behind them, will you be able to tell me the color of their eyes? If you can't, what you did is you looked at their face, but you didn't connect to their eyes. So that's a test for you. Okay? And then acknowledge the other patients, families that may be in the room. Introduction. Minimal expectation is name and department. Or name and position, like Jerry McLaughlin, Human Resources, or Sally, I'm a registered nurse. Then you can go into any of those professional certifications. I just graduated, we had a group of LPNs graduate from BTC this last weekend. I am sure they are out on the floor today going, hi, I'm Sally and I'm an LPN. Okay? I'm stoked for them. But you can also go into your experience. We have a lab tech, lab assistant, phlebotomist. She's a former Navy corpsman. And I can tell you there are certain patients that come in and ask for her because of that personal connection, that they are Navy and so is she. So she's got to know what she's doing. Okay? And that type of thing will help you with your patients. Manage up coworkers, manage up physicians. You got to get to know them to be able to manage them up. So share your experiences. And then if you ever have the opportunity to manage up another department, okay? Transfers, you're walking people down the hall, you can always do that.
Duration, give an accurate time expectation for tests. You may not know exactly when it might be, but one example is in the physician's office when patients are in the lobby waiting. Physician just left the building to go deliver a baby. You know they're going to be gone for at least 45 minutes, so that just put everyone in the lobby on hold. So just be sure to update them. Keep them informed of how long it might take. It's not part of AID actually, but it's duration. Those expectations, if patients think that they're going to be seen at 8 a.m. or 8:10, and you know the physician just left the building because an emergency happened, or a bad accident, they had to go or call to the ER or whatever, be sure and explain to those patients that it might be 45 minutes. And I would err on the long side rather than the short side. Don't say you think it'll be 15 minutes when you know it's going to be 30 minutes. You might say 45 minutes, and then when you actually meet, or they show up at 30 minutes, you've exceeded their expectation because they thought it was going to take 45 minutes. So duration, at least during your introduction, to let them know, and possibly they're there to draw blood. They can explain to you, or you explain to them how long it's going to take to draw the blood. It might only take a few minutes. It might be a procedure that might take 30 minutes. So just explain to them, that will put their anxiety at ease a little bit. The explanation is to narrate your care. Explain what it is that you are doing. The tourniquet that you're going to put on, or as you're going to draw the blood. Explain it to them. That just really puts them at ease to understand why you're doing what you're doing.
All right, and then the thank you. Thank you can be for choosing the hospital, choosing their communication style, whatever it is that you can thank them for. They have a choice. I mean, we said 30 minutes north of Springfield. They have a choice whether they go here, they go to Springfield, they choose to go somewhere else. But they choose us, and we want to thank them for that. And then I encourage you to come up with a promise. We're going to give you a couple of examples of AIDs in a scenario that people make those personal commitments to the service that they're delivering. So, can I do that? You get to do the nurse.
Nurse. So again, the eye contact and smile. Acknowledge everyone in the room. So if there's others sitting with the patient, acknowledge the others in the room as well. Introduce. So hello, Mr. Clark. My name is Jackie, and I'm your nurse today. I've been a nurse for 20 years and have worked in this hospital for over 8 years. I have done this procedure thousands of times and go back for training each year. So that's explaining or introducing what it is, what are their qualifications, why they're there, providing that service. Now, if you're a brand new nurse, you don't have experience to talk about, but you just received the best education. You just received the most recent technologies you were trained on the most recent protocol, things like that. So that is something to brag about as well. Promise. So I'm going to take excellent care of you. That's to reassure them, to put them at ease. Duration, again, we talked about the time. The procedure will take about 10 minutes to perform and in about 1 hour to receive the results. Explanation. So you can explain, let me explain some more about the procedure, explain how you're performing the procedure, what will happen, what they should expect. And then again, the thank you. Be sure and thank them for choosing us, for using our services, because they do have a choice.
And so like another example would be, this is a dietary example. So good morning, Mrs. Becker. I've come to deliver your meal. My name is Angel from Food Service. Took on a new name, new persona. I'll be helping you with your meal today. I've worked in food service for the last 20 years. I'm committed to making sure that you have the best experience possible with our food services. If you haven't eaten at any of our facilities, be prepared to gain 5 to 10 pounds, okay? Just so you know. It won't take me long to set up your tray. Somebody else will come in later from food service to clear your tray once you are finished. I see that you've ordered the meatloaf with broccoli, macaroni and cheese, and an unsweetened iced tea. Is that correct? By the way, our chef's meatloaf is delicious. If you like meatloaf, our cafeteria meatloaf is amazing, by the way. So, is there anything else I can do for you? I have the time. Thank you for choosing our hospital for your healthcare needs. That's a nutritional service worker making a promise to a patient to try to exceed their expectations and thanking them for choosing our organization. Okay? It all is part of that communication. Because here's what happens. When they leave, they get a survey and they get asked, how was your experience? They could have had a great experience, but Angel doesn't do this and doesn't do it well, it changes their entire perception of their care. The nurses, the providers, all of that could have done everything for them and sent them home healthier than they came in. But one bad experience and they feel like they got poor care. Okay? So keep that in mind as you go. Any questions on that? Y'all can do this. So don't forget your homework. There's a couple of little cheat sheets in your packet, the AIDIT one that we talked about, so go home and think through some of those scenarios. There's the cheat sheet on the no pass zone, what to do, little scenarios for you to think through. And then there's even a little flow chart of acknowledging how to do an AIDIT, what the decision tree looks like.
We've got employee resources that are available to you, financial assistance with hospital accounts. This is actually available to everyone, not just employees. So if you have a mother, father, family member, friend, whatever, that's debating whether to have a procedure done or not, we do offer discounts for low-income or uninsured patients. There's applications on the website or the customer service department. You can contact them and they will walk you through that. They will help that patient to plan for that procedure, either before the procedure or after the procedure, to help with payments. Another thing we have is the health insurance marketplace. We've got actual employees that work for us that are counselors, and they can help individuals go through the healthcare system or the marketplace. I believe open enrollment's now closed. But, so we did have people available to help you get enrolled for health insurance for those that were not insured by an employer. So we have that assistance available. Their offices are actually located in the Human Resources Building across from Beeks over on 32 Highway. So you can schedule an appointment with a certified insurance professional.
So we also want to make you guys aware that we have an employee, or a patient advocate, not an employee advocate, a patient advocate. Her name is Kim Eggleston. She works out of the hospital. So her role is to really kind of be a liaison between the community and the organization. So here's kind of the scenarios that happen. Patient comes in, they get better, they go home, they get a bill, I'm not happy with my care. And you're going to hear that in a restaurant or Woods or someplace else. So I don't want you to think that our expectation is, well, you deserve the care and now you have to pay for it. I don't want you to think that you have to defend us out there organizationally, but you can go, you know, I went through orientation a couple weeks ago and we have a patient advocate that can probably help you. Would you like her name and number, or would you like me to get your name and number to her? Okay. And Kim is a nurse by training. She can help patients with information about what is this on my bill, what were these tests that were done. She can dig into the charts and she can make sure that we did the level of care that was expected. She can also provide you assistance if the patient's here and has questions. You can always call her. She'll come down to patient rooms and meet with them. If she's not here, Deanna Hedger will come over and meet with them. But she's that individual that provides that communication between CMH and our communities. Now, who is long-term care? Is there something in long-term care? The only exception is that in the long-term care facilities, we always ask that you contact the social services director first. Then go to Kim if they're not available. Because otherwise, Kim's just going to call them. So, Kim's number's down here at the bottom. Or you can also just call the switchboard or the main number and ask for the patient advocate. Can't talk. You get like
Strategic plan, we have cycles of excellence. So in setting our strategic plan, to break it down to make it more understandable, we've got these 4 categories: service, quality, finance, and people. And so those are the 4 areas that we are focusing on all the time. We've got champions that are leading those areas. Deanna Hedger is our service champion. Amy Moffett is the quality champion. I'm the champion for finance. And then Jeremy is the people champion. So each one of these, so our service, provide the highest value healthcare services and stewardship to our community. We want to provide the best service. We want them to want to come back and receive our services again. Quality, deliver safe, efficient, effective healthcare services and resources. Quality is number 1. I know we've received several awards. We're focusing on quality all the time, trying to make sure that we are doing the best we can. Financial, assure financial sustainability. In order to be here long term, we need to be able to manage our finances. People, and we want the best people working for us. We want to be the best place to work in healthcare, best place for a career in healthcare. So people are also, it's all about people.
It's all about people. We'll talk about that. So here's what happens in the background. So I don't want you guys thinking that I'm going to give you a test later, but if anybody were to ever ask, we operate under what's called VBEST, Value-Based Enterprise System. Okay? So I don't expect you to remember Value-Based Enterprise System, but remember VBEST. And you can go, that Jeremy in orientation said that there's a plan going on that helps make decisions. And it's called VBEST. Because it is the process that we go through every year, 18 months, to assure that we're doing the right things organizationally. So it all starts right here at the top with Mr. Babb, our board of directors, helping that mission, vision, and those values that we talked about, setting those and establishing what is the goal for the year. So we end up with these strategies and goals, and sometimes there's action plans, there's competencies, there's shifts in people's job responsibilities. And some of those things fall into the flagpoles. So like every year there's a group that gets together and we do an MIB on benefits. We have several benefits. You're going to meet Sarah later today, and she's going to walk through health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance. How do we determine what it is employees want? Well, we pull together a group of employees and we ask them questions. And we fill out a little form, and that's part of the people process that we go through. Other times there's an initiative to reduce the amount of turnover. Well, how do we do that? We get people together and we try and brainstorm and figure out what those processes are. So those all go into this central process here. And then we get outcomes and we learn from it. And sometimes those processes we monitor over time. And we measure a ton of processes every year. But it's all part of a formal process that the flagpole champions, several other leaders, board members all get together and review and go, are we going down the right path? Okay? So most of the time, you won't have anything to do other than you might get pulled into and make a better team. Or you might get asked, hey, would you want to work on this project? But know that there is a true process taking place in the background that does have an impact organizationally.
So measuring success, how we measure all of our hard work. We've got a process scorecard. Performance center is actually how our employees are paid. So your annual evaluation is based on a performance center. We set goals at the beginning of the year, we monitor those goals throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, those, whether we've met the goal, haven't met the goal, we're reported based on that. From the performance center, it all ties in. So we've got the organizational business unit balance scorecard. So the balance scorecard is also a measure with service quality, people in finance. We are measuring goals all year long. Those should all tie in. So LEM, leader evaluation, is what the managers use, very similar to Performance Center. Performance Center is for employees, leader evaluation is for the supervisors. It all ties together. It's like the cog, it's all got to be unified. We are all working on the same goals. We're measuring the results and reporting those results out. So the scorecard, process scorecard, really deals with the actual processes, our procedures that we have in place, and then the balance scorecard, we're looking at results.
So there's a little screenshot of the intranet, which you'll become very familiar with today. When IS comes over and does a little training with you, these are common applications that you'll use that are on the intranet. And right below it is a section that we as the Flagpole Champions have kind of taken and show you a snapshot of where the organization is on our goal. We just recently changed it from these little bar graphs to like a little speedometer graphs. So you can see, are we at the green, or are we in the yellow, or are we at a caution thing? So we think it's a little better visual representation. So Renee mentioned the balance scorecard. Here's how to read one. If you ever want to see them, there's a link right underneath that graph. That if you click on that, it takes you to the balance scorecards. But here's how to read them. When you see them, it's a big grid full of information, and on the far left-hand side are going to be the measures. So this is a snapshot from last year at the end of second quarter, so approximately this time 1 year ago. And it was overall employee satisfaction, pay, competency, recognition, and turnover. So the very first one is measure. The next thing is the trend from the previous quarter. So employee satisfaction was up from the previous quarter. Pay and benefits were the same. Competency was up. Recognition and turnover were the same. So they didn't move boxes. Okay? That's what the trend line is showing, is if turnover was up, that means it had gotten better. Everything with our goals is up is good. Okay? So it doesn't sound good to have turnover going up, but it's a decreasing goal as we get higher on. How many of you guys have dealt with stoplight charts before? Anybody? Stoplight charts are really basic. What happens at a green light? You go. Green is good. Okay. Yellow, what do you start to do? Yes. Be a little cautionary. If you're going into the intersection and it turns yellow, be prepared. Somebody else may be coming the other way, right? That's kind of how we are. So if it's in this zone, we know we can be a little cautionary. You're possibly making improvements, or we may be falling backwards a little bit. If it's red, stop. Okay? We look at it as the wheels are falling off the wagon. So what's happening to this process? If turnover gets all the way over here to 1, trust me, I'm talking to a lot of managers going, what the heck is going on? Why are people leaving like that? Okay? Same thing would hold true if employee satisfaction dropped down here. I have really high expectations of our leaders, so our employee sat should be a goal or better. Okay? Now, we look at our goals as either historical things or what's the best that we could be, whether it's comparative groups or it's the best in class. That's how we set a lot of these goals. So anything above the green is what we consider a stretch. So this is where we're pushing for in 3 or 4 years. If we could get there, great. If not, this is where we expect to try and get this year. Okay. And those get looked at each year as part of that B-Best process. So blue is good, blue is great. Green is good, yellow is red is holy cow. Okay. So if you see some stuff red, don't be afraid to ask your manager or one of us, what's going on? What can we do to help? So you get the fun one.
The reward goal. So from all of that balanced scorecard that we just talked about, there's a score. We actually come up with a score. Our goal is to be at a 6. So we saw the green box was at a 6. All of those measures have weight to them. They all have points, and so the points add up. At the end of the year, we would like to be at a 6 or above. Our goal is the 6. If we get to the 6 or above, the entire organization, every employee gets a 1% bonus. So that's 1% of your the annual salary you received in the prior year. You would get that 1% payout. If we meet it, it's based on our fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends May 31st. Right now, we are not on track. We are below a 6. We're at a 5.
Yeah.
5, maybe.
We were at the end of first quarter. We'll see how second
Okay.
quarter goes.
So we did actually pay this out in 2016. We did not get one this past fiscal year, but the year before we did. And it was close to $750,000 by the time we paid every single employee at 1% salary. So it's very impressive. It's a really enticing goal. We all need to work together to meet those goals. So we just encourage you to keep an eye on the balanced scorecard. Ask your manager, how are we doing? You should see that reported out to you every month at your monthly meeting, the employee staff meeting.
All right, some basic housekeeping things. Corporate compliance and practices. I want you to be ethical in everything that you do in our organization. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, just go do this, and you go, that just doesn't feel right, go ask somebody. Okay, go ask your boss, go to your boss's boss, do something. But if it doesn't feel right, go ask. I don't want to see any of you in orange jumpsuits. Okay? Try and remain above reproach in all that we do. We've tried to build into most of our processes a check and balance. I may enter your pay rate into it, but payroll double checks that we've entered the right thing. So I'm not giving people pay rates that they shouldn't have. We've tried to assure that integrity in most of our processes. But there are still those situations that come up that you're going to have to make decisions on. Okay? And then know that most of our processes, we're trying to exceed the regulatory guidelines. There are some things that we have to do that we're just going to meet the minimums. But in most of our processes, we're trying to go above and beyond what those minimums are. Now, who knows what that last one is? Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. What is?
HIPAA.
HIPAA.
Basically, you don't talk about patient stuff to providers,
Yeah, okay, so
not involved in the process.
and that's the key, is not involved in the process of the patient. So to assure that integrity of the process, we have a HIPAA security officer. You guys are going to do a health stream this afternoon on HIPAA security. Her name's Heather Klein, and she does audits all the time. She gets excited about getting into records and just auditing who's been in patient charts. To me, it'd be very boring. But to her, it's really exciting because she's assuring that we're doing the right things. The bad part is Heather calls me every once in a while and goes, hey, so-and-so got into a patient record, and they're not even in that department. And we have to figure out what to do. Okay? We have a great process in place. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often. But when it does happen, we have to address that. And here's why. Because if we find it, we have to report it. And then it can get you and the organization brought into court. There was a case in Arkansas that an individual breached a patient's confidentiality, and they served a year in jail and faced a $10,000 individual fine. The organization was not found at fault, but the person was. Now, I don't have a ton of that, but these are the worst things ever for healthcare. Here's why. You decide you want to take a picture of a coworker. There's a patient or resident in the background. You've just violated HIPAA if you post that picture. Okay? You take a picture of something else, or you post on your Facebook or Instagram, had a great day today, Sally was amazing, and that was one of your patients. That's a HIPAA. I had this happen. One of our CNAs, one of our long-term care facilities, she was a great young lady. She still works for us, but she decided at the end of her shift to help her coworkers. On her last break, she started posting about some of the events that occurred during her shift. Didn't name any names, but identified the residents enough that a family that was her friend saw the post, called the director of nursing and said, "What happened to Mom? Because I saw so-and-so's post." So had 280 other people by the time the DON got called. So we had to have a nice little conversation about how and how not to use Facebook. But she still works there. She's a great aide. And I just want you guys to be extremely cautious when it comes to HIPAA. It could even be a breach in the cafeteria. If I don't need to know about it, don't tell me about your patients. I don't do that patient care, remember? You can tell me, wow, I had a crazy case today, but don't give me enough details because I grew up here, so I might know that so-and-so's in the hospital. Any questions on that? Okay. Oh, you get the fun slide.
So we just want to say welcome. Welcome to CMH. You're part of an amazing organization, amazing team. Remember to be proud of who you are and be proud of what you do. We serve a lot of people and it's very impressive what you do. CMH Pride, and it's all about the
It's
people.
all about the people.